Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I am Sumit Sood, and on behalf of Automation Anywhere and CMS IT Services, I extend a very warm welcome to you all on this session today. It's a webinar, exclusive webinar on invoice process automation as a service. We take this opportunity to thank you all and taking time out and joining us for this session today. We understand that these are challenging times and that COVID has changed the way of everyone's life globally, with the arrival of work from home being the new normal. We will do our best to ensure that in next 60 minutes, we are able to send out the right message to you and that you are able to draw value from today's interaction at this webinar. To maximize the value, let me just share some points with you before we start. The session will be for 60 minutes. All the participants who have joined this session today will be on mute by default. If you want to raise a question during the webinar, please post the same in the chat box and we will take it up immediately. I will be your host for the next 1 hour sitting out here. Setting up some context to today's session, organizations worldwide are benefiting from automating their accounts payable invoice processing, and this appears to be one of the popular use cases. This process is typically done manually and comes with its own challenges like time delays in processing an invoice and paying the vendor, discrepancies occurrence, human verification of invoices resulting in large man-hours spent, and a lot of errors as well. CMS IT Services, given its capability, offerings, and unique differentiators around automation in today's webinar, in association with Automation Anywhere, brings to the table the best practices to showcase a crucial experience in managing accounts payable operations, which will help you successfully achieve your business goals. Automation Anywhere is a very important partner to us in our journey of taking innovative automation solutions to the market. And it is my privilege to invite our first speaker of the day, Mr. Yashpal Negi. Mr. Yashpal Negi is from Automation Anywhere. As Director of Strategic Partnerships, he has a deep understanding of technologies. His role has been instrumental in building the partner ecosystem at Automation Anywhere. And indeed, it's a great pleasure having him here on this session today, sharing his knowledge with all of us. Yash, over to you, please.
Hey, hi, thanks, Sumit. Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Let me know once you are able to see my screen.
Yes, Yash, I am able to see your screen, and I think I would assume that, nobody sent any message, so I think everybody can see your screen.
All right, okay, that's nice. So once again, good afternoon, everybody, and thanks, Sumit, for those kind words. Just a quick, just to add to what Sumit said. Well, I don't claim to be an author on process automation, but last 2.5, 3 years that I've spent in Automation Anywhere, have obviously got my 2 cents on Automation Anywhere, their offering, and how do we really offer innovative solutions in the marketplace. Next 10 to 15 minutes that I have on me, basically I'm gonna share my 2 cents on where we see. First is obviously the need for Automation Anywhere, or rather the RPA. What's our offering, and how do we work with partners such as CMS IT Services to offer innovative solutions such as invoice processing as a service. So that's something which I'm going to cover in next 10 to 15 minutes. And here we go. As I said, my first slide is on. All right. So RPA has been a buzzword around for a while now, at least for last 2 to 3 years that I've been around. We have seen a lot of customers talking about RPA, a lot of customers, talking about process automation, intelligent document processing, and so on. So there are different abbreviations which floats in the market, but essentially it's just about process automation, right? So what's the problem statement, right? Why is it that everybody seems to be talking about RPA? Now, here is a very small attempt to really give you an understanding of why RPA is such an important cog in the wheel of digital transformation. So if I were to really map the graph, which really talks about the complexities in IT automations over the time, you will realize that starting from the good old days of legacy mainframes, the Windows platform, Linux, there weren't really a lot of applications out there which were available. Most of the applications were built homegrown, tightly coupled to either a Java or a Linux or a Microsoft environment or a mainframe, right? So we obviously those had their own set of good reasons why those were not scalable and so on and so forth, right? But over the last 20 years or so, we have seen the number of applications growing phenomenally, right? And each of the applications are really built for a very custom built for a specific purpose, right? Meeting a specific requirement. So what's really happening now is while we have built a lot of application in an enterprise environment, each catering to a specific requirement, in the bargain, we have ended up, hundreds of applications being running in an organization. So what we're essentially saying is the whole purpose of adding new applications was to digitize, was to really automate, but that's really not serving the purpose, because what's really happening is you still have data operating in silos. You have data sitting in your backend ERP. You have data sitting in your HubSpot or Marketo for your marketing automation, or your CRM such as Salesforce, right? So you really need to have an option to move your data from a particular application to another application. And so as a result of it, you still have a lot of manual work which is involved. Our rough estimate suggests that we still have only 20% of the data which is truly in the digital form, and we still have 80% of the work which is being driven manually to ensure that we have all the data available in the systems records, right? So that's still a lot of manual work which is being currently carried out. Now, through RPA, what essentially we are trying to do is we are trying to ingest a digital worker, which will really work in conjunction with the human capital that we have, to ensure that we are able to deliver this manual activity more efficiently, and be more productive in the entire ecosystem. So that's something which we are trying to achieve out of this RPA. Now, this was pre-COVID, right? Now, what has really happened is, especially thanks to COVID, a lot of enterprises are now steadfasting their digital transformation process. Which, in fact, a recent report by McKinsey suggested that COVID has actually filled the time gap almost 7 years. So the digital transformation journey where an enterprise would have been after 7 years are currently there. Courtesy our contactless, faceless approach, where we really want to, deliver the same customer experience, but at the same time not able to really interact with them on a face-to-face basis. You are adding more and more applications in your system, right? Be it improving your contact center, being improving your website to ensure that you don't lose out on any important customers. So what's really happening is by adding more application, you're adding more manual work, right? When I say manual, again, the same concept wherein you're adding more application to cater to a specific requirement, and then you will have somebody moving data from an application to another application. So that's where the need of RPA is even more felt post-COVID, and it is really helping a lot of enterprise to ensure that the entire applications are being worked not in silos, but in a proper conjunction way, right? So if you ask us, what essentially we're saying is digital transformation without automation is just a hallucination, right? It's just a myth. So unless and until you do an automation, unless and until you're able to have your data move automatically from one application to another, it's just mere scraping the surface, right? You're not even there 100%. So if you look at it, what we are delivering today is your front office application or your back office application, or be it your office productivity suites such as Office 365 or Google Sheets. We really ensure that all the data are moved seamlessly from backend to front end to the employee productivity suites, right? And the business users who are are equally onboarded when it comes to an automation. So that's what we deliver as part of the Automation Anywhere portfolio suite, right? I understand you all are on mute, so just in case if you have any questions, please ping it on the chat box, and we'll be happy to take it up. All right, so that's where we are talking about a unified front office, back office, environment using automation anywhere, RPA suite. A brief about automation anywhere. We are a leading RPA vendor. In fact, we are among the top 2 vendors globally. We are backed by marquee investors such as SoftBank, Goldman Sachs, Salesforce Ventures, and many more. As of November 2019, we were close to $7 billion in market cap, market valuation, right? So that's we are a pre-IPO company. We have more than 4,000 plus customers globally, and we operate in 90 plus countries, right? And this customer cuts across telecom, healthcare, IT, BFSI, manufacturing, you name it, and we are there, right? As a matter of fact, globally, we work with, we have top 5 or 7 customers in each of the industry vertical as a customers. And rightly so, you name it, be it Gartner, be it HFS, Forrester, they have been rating us continuously as #1 in, from a completeness of the vision, as Gartner says, or HFS as the #1 RPA company, or Forrester for that matter, right? So most of the researchers has been positioning us as the #1 or the leadership in the RPA category. Yeah. So why is it that we have such a strong customer base? And then a lot of researchers have been talking about such a good things, putting us high up there in the ranking. So if you look at it, we believe we are truly a innovative company. We truly believe in innovation, and as you would see here, we have been offering latest state-of-the-art solutions much before the industry has actually started using it in the marketplace. So we are typically about 20 plus odd years. We have been around for 20 odd years in this business. Not really in RPA, but initially it was more of a services company. But real action started from 2017 when we announced our RPA platform. We picked our first Series A funding in 2018. And if you look at the chart out here, right from bottom side, IQ bot, bots, and I'll cover that in a bit in my subsequent slide. This all has been industry first offering, right? So be it AI based IQ data extraction tools such as IQ bot, or be it a industry first cloud native architecture for our RPA platform. Or very recently, we announced the Automation Anywhere robotic interface for the business users, right? And what this has really helped us is, it has really helped us to grow our revenue 10 times, right? And this was only possible because of our higher retention rate. Today, we have more than 99% customers, who continue to renew our subscription year-on-year basis. And it's just not about the renewal. We have a very high license utilization rate of 81%, which essentially means that they're not yet there at 100% capacity utilization, but yeah, it's close to 100% bot utilization, and a very high industry CSAT of 8.3. Some of you on the call who are part of the services industries or facing the end customer, I'm sure you know the importance of NPS scoring, right? And what 8.3 really means. So we are there as 8.3 as a CSAT score. Well, this slide briefly talks about the platform. I really don't want to go deep into the technology aspect because we can pick up those questions if there are any, or else we can have a separate session on a very detailed technology aspect of it. But just to give you a summary on what we have to offer today, right? So there are 4 building blocks of our RPA platform, right? So one is the automate piece, which essentially means so all the data which is lying in your systems, using RPA, you sort of do an automation, move data from one point to another point. But there are still about 80% of data which are unstructured data, right? Now, this could be in the form of invoice. This could be in the form of, your purchase orders, or it could be your bills of entry. So you still have a lot of data is lying out there. Now, using IQBot, we digitize those documents. So IQBot is a AI-laced cognitive data extraction tool, which we have announced. It's an integral part of an RPA offering, of automation. So essentially, if you look at it through an RPA as well as IQBot, what we are trying to achieve is we're trying to ensure that 100% of the data which is up there, you are able to automate. And it's just not about data which is lying in the system by way of your various application data. So it's not just about data which is being created by the application. It's just not about data moving from one application to another application. But what we are also offering is data extraction. So converting your unstructured data or the semi-structured data into structured data, right? And you're able to, automate those data as well. The third piece, what we have is all about optimization. I'm sure you would understand, the importance that optimization brings on table. Now, it's a native BI tool, native to RPA. What it really does is it gives you a complete insight on the data which is being processed by RPA, right? Now, and this becomes very critical for the key decision makers, because tomorrow, if you were to really put up a business case for an upsell or an expansion on the current project, you need those data to be backing up, right? In terms of the efficiency that RPA has bring in terms of the improvement in the productivity and the ROI. Now, this is a BI tool which will give you all those data. So it's just not about handling those transactional data, but it also gives you a lot of operational data to derive a better insight. The fourth piece is a discovery bot. Now, as I said, been around for about 3 years now, and initially when we started, it was just about RPA, right? So everybody, be it large, small enterprise, they just wanted to experience, the RPA as a platform. But today, when you meet customers, they're really keen to understand. They understand the importance of RPA. They understand the importance that a digital workforce platform brings on the table. But what they are really keen to understand is what are those processes which needs to be picked up first, right? Now, if they pick up anything which is a very simple process, they may not get an ROI. If they pick up any process which is too complicated, right? So they might end up, the project might get delayed, or it might take a longer time to go, production. So which is the problem? So the key is what are those processes that they should be really looking at, which is a sort of combination of both, give a better ROI, at the same time they're able to deliver it within the limited time period. Now that's where Discovery Bot comes into play. Very powerful tool which really helps enterprises to understand which are the processes, which are the hidden gems, so to say, that they should be picking up for automating the processes. So, in fact, if some of you who have been tracking RPA, we have recently acquired a company called Fortress IQ, a very strong AI company specializing in process mining and process discovery. And this year, the integration is already underway, and another month or so, we should be having those as part of our combined offering. So this is the comprehensive portfolio that we have, and mind you, this is completely being delivered on a single platform. So tomorrow you want to do a horizontal scaling or do an vertical scaling, it's all possible from a single platform. Now the uniqueness about this offering is we offer it in three variances. We offer it in a pure cloud environment, right? So that you really don't have to worry about the infrastructure costs, the associated administrative cost, and plus the updates, right? It's all on me. Be my guest, right? The second is the on-premise. For a variety of reasons, a lot of conglomerates do insist on having an on-premise environment to meet various regulatory compliance. So we do have something on the on-premise. And we do have something called a hybrid option, right? So all the three variances are available for all our customers. And as I mentioned earlier, we are the industry first cloud native RPA company, right? I spoke about automation anywhere robotic interface, which is essentially for the business users, give them seamless experience to use RPA as a platform. We work closely with a lot of enterprise conglomerates, both globally and domestically here in India, like SAP, Salesforce, Microsoft, AWS, right? And more specifically, if you come here in India, we work very closely with CMS IT. In fact, the platform that Sunil is going to talk about, from a couple of minutes from now, that's a platform which is being powered by Automation Anywhere, right? So you can be assured that the entire security, compliance, the ruggedity, the scalability is being provisioned for. And I'm not going to steal the thunder. I'm going to let Sunil talk about it more in details. But this is exactly the platform that we have to offer to our customers. And as I said, multiple industries have been using it. Some of the benefits, and I'm sure some of you who have already been who have already embarked on this journey really knows the operational efficiency that it gives in terms of cost savings, in terms of ROI, improve customer experience, and so on and so forth, right? So, and these are all proven data which are being derived, captured from various research reports, right? All right, so this is my last slide, and essentially what we are trying to do is, well, we're not trying to replace human being, but what essentially we are trying to say is human resource and RPA. So some of the mundane repetitive tasks can be handled by the RPA, can be done much more effectively, getting a lot more improve the ROI and so on and so forth. Whereas the human can really do a lot of creative job, right? Rather than just doing some sort of mundane stuff. So it's a very sincere effort, RP as a category, to ensure that we have both human and digital, the bots working together to deliver seamless experience to all our customers. Right? Yeah. So that's it from my side. And as I said, will any questions, just message on the chat box, and I'm here to question that. Over to you, Sunil.
Right. Thank you so much, Yash. Quite an intriguing presentation, I must say. And of course, I'm sure we do have questions, but we would address them all towards the session. Thank you so much for such an informative session. With that, I would like to invite our second speaker for this session, Mr. Sunil Menon. He's the practice head of automation at CMS IT Services. He and his team has created the innovative solutions to take them to the market. Over to you, Sunil, to take it from here, please, and showcase the uniqueness and the innovativeness that we've been all waiting for.
Thank you, Sumit. Hello, everyone. Can you see my screen? Can everyone see my screen?
Yes, Sunil, we are able to see your screen.
Great. So thank you, everyone, for your time. And in the interest of bandwidth and etc., I'll also unmute my video as I take you through the rest of the presentation. Most important thing is, first of all, thank you, Yash, for that very insightful presentation once again. And there are a few takeaways from Yash's presentation which I'd like to launch into before I start with my presentation. So Yash mentioned a few important things. The first thing that he did mention was that there is a lot of data out there which is crisscrossing applications, and around 80% of them are actually handled manually. So in effect, what's happening is 80% of our time is going in entering data which is already there in one application into another application. And that is, so if you actually think about it, perhaps it's time to kind of empower the human intellect, as somebody said, to actually start doing something more value added than taking data from one application and entering it into another application. The other part which Yash mentioned, which I'll also like to launch into in a little while, is that he mentioned the utilization of bots. Is that automation anywhere is at 81%. Now, utilization of any technology that you utilize or that you have in your ecosystem is of prime importance to us as technology and business leaders. Now, how do we improve the utilization? I think when we put all these questions together, that's when we came up with something which where some of these questions are automatically answered. Now, utilization of technology becomes a question for you only if you are already held to that technology for a particular quantity. We have tried to take that off the table in our solution. Along with Automation Anywhere, we have built up something which is very interesting for the market. And again, thank you, Yash, for your insightful presentation, and thanks, Sumit, for hosting us. So I'll take you through the rest of my slides. And Yash and Sumit, if for any reason you're not able to see my screen or you're not able to hear me properly, please call that out, because I'm on full screen and I'm assuming that you'll be able to hear me. Right.
Definitely.
Now, I'd like to say that we start. This is CMS IT's. While we call our session invoice automation, I'd like you to put any process which falls under this category or falls which has large data entry and a lot of repetitive data entry work as a part of this solution, because frankly speaking, Invoice is one of the key processes that get automated, but we are through the platform that we have developed, we are geared up to automate any process which meets all those requirements. So that is something which I would like to start as a caveat. Now, specifically to invoice automation, which is a very favorite topic for automation amongst all finance leaders, and I believe we have many of them in our session today. I'd like you to look at this particular screen where the invoice automation invoice ecosystem in an organization is quite complex. As in, you get your invoices from multiple sources and you get it in multiple formats because all your suppliers may not conform to the same format. So the key problem for any invoice or accounts payable organization is to take those invoices which are received, to read those invoices, to put a context to it, and then enter it into your transaction system or the ERP and process it so that they are processed in such a way that all the basics are taken care of, whether that particular invoice has been already received or the items against that invoice has been received, etc. Obviously, you don't want to be paying for an invoice where the items are not received, the GRN is not in, etc. Now, because this is a complex ecosystem from multiple sources, etc., that's why this becomes a challenge to automate. And because there are several steps on the way. The first part is that you have to read that paper or that PDF that comes into your ecosystem. And many times, and we have noticed that in our customers in India, the invoice accompanies the goods, and therefore the invoice is coming as a paper invoice. So there is the additional thing of converting that paper invoice into a digital invoice and then processing that particular digital invoice. When it is a paper invoice, it brings other complexities, which we will talk about as we go forward. So our simple solution is, what we do is, what does our platform do? Our platform, like Yash mentioned, is a little innovative platform. So what we do is we tell you that all you have to do is place that invoice in the shared folder. Or in fact, if it's a paper invoice, we help you to place it in the shared folder. And from there on, our invoice platform takes care of the rest of the processing of that particular invoice. Okay. Now, we use a couple of technologies, including some of the Automation Anywhere technologies, to bring this to you. We offer the key part of this entire system is that it depends upon accuracy. Because if you do not read the invoice accurately, the entire system does not work. So the more accurate you can get, the better you are, or better off you are as far as this automation is concerned. So the second part that we bring in, which I'd like you to note, is that we are offering it as a service. So we charge you on the basis of the number of invoice pages that we have processed. We do not charge you, we do not ask you to make a capital expenditure into a particular any software. So we are offering the entire thing as a service, and we are assuring you of a certain level of accuracy on day one of go live. And your accuracy is warranted to the extent that in case we get 85% or 90% on day one, which is some of the highest in the industry rates that we have got as far as accuracy is concerned, we still charge you only 85 to 90% of the bill. So we give you an accuracy warranty and we give you a pay for use kind of a scenario, which is very interesting to my mind. And I think that's where we take the entire conversation about bot utilization away from the table. So in an accounts payable invoice entry system, what happens is that there is a manual entry into the ERP from the various transaction formats that come in. We have spoken about this earlier. So like I said, most of our paper invoices come in the paper format, but there are also invoices which get uploaded into the supplier portal, etc. And those invoices have to be entered into the ERP. And typically, because data entry is being done by human beings, there's always a make-a-check concept, because somebody has to do the data entry. So someone also has to check to ensure that the data entry is done right, because we are human beings and we could make errors. So this entire problem is taken off by having an accurate automation system in place, that there doesn't have to be a checker as such. There has to be somebody to intervene and resolve issues which the bot has, but we do not need somebody to check whether the bot is done right, because the bot typically does not make data entry errors, or not typically, it doesn't make data entry errors. So in the challenges of invoice transformation, I mean, I said something about it earlier, but to detail it out, there are variations of context. Now, there are the invoice always has a context, and that particular it could be an invoice for a service, it could be an invoice for a product, it could be there are multiple reasons why the invoice is there. So each invoice has got its own transaction context, and that has to be taken care of by any good automation platform. The second part is that the document structure itself varies, because each supplier has got its own formats, etc. And it's important for it's absolutely important that any automation system will be able to read different formats and make sense out of it. And that is something which adds to the accuracy. The third part is very important, is document quality. I think many of our friends from the manufacturing sector would agree that when the invoice comes to you with goods which are carried across the country in a truck, the quality of the invoice is typically not great. And also, we do have a habit of making writings on the invoice, or putting a seal on the invoice, etc. So there's a lot of noise in some of the documents, and how to remove that noise is a very important part of how we approach the process. Of course, there is an importance of accuracy, because invoices are legally binding documents, and inaccuracies could lead to large losses for the organization. So that is something. And also, we want to keep our supplier ecosystem happy, because especially in the current day and age, the supply chain is becoming very, very critical post whatever issues that we're facing in semiconductors, etc. We're seeing that the supply chain can make or break any competitiveness. And it's important to keep our supply chain busy. And many of our customers have actually told us that one of the reasons why they would like to automate is to make sure that the entire processing is so seamless that they are actually doing decent supplier development and making life easier for the suppliers. There are times when suppliers have to do data entry, they have to print on pre-printed formats, etc. So all those things can be addressed if we have a proper system and we have some clarity on how long it takes to get to process the invoice in a seamless manner, and the money to come into their accounts. So typically, the unstructured nature of invoices, just to detail it out, because I've taken an invoice which is a little actually one of the good invoices, because obviously we had to show you something which you can read, but many of our invoices are even quite a little more challenging than this. So there could be parts of the invoice also manually entered, and that's one of the things that we do. We are able to read even handwritten aspects of an invoice well, provided they are in a particular context. And the important thing to note is that our approach is completely different when it comes to reading the unstructured nature of invoices. The way we have approached automation is that our platform knows that it is reading an invoice. So it's got a context in place to to read from. So once it knows that it is an invoice, then it knows what to look for in that particular invoice. Therefore, we believe that our accuracy goes up largely because we have adopted a slightly different way to do this. How does CMSIT approach this transformation? We have three parts to this transformation. One is we have a cognitive engine, which just reads it, I was talking about accuracy all this while. It's what our cognitive engine does. We read it with a very high level of accuracy. On day one of go live, we expect nothing less than 85% on day one of go live, which is clearly one of the best in the industry. The second part, and we assure you of this 85% because we do not charge you. We charge you in a very prorated to accuracy kind of way. The second part is either if you have APIs that can be consumed by our platform, we'll be happy to do that. But many of our customers, because of the challenges of the daily work, you prefer the RPA, and we will be able to use our RPA to do data entry quite accurately. And this is the part which saves a lot of time and effort, because having read that document, it doesn't make sense when somebody actually has to do the data entry. The third part is the seamless experience, and we will show you a small demo on how we achieve that seamless experience, because it's also important that these things are not tougher for the people to follow. It actually makes them very easy. So we are talking about either a zero touch or a one touch approach, depending upon what's the type of invoice that you have. We have only 3 steps to the transformation process. One is the extraction of the invoice, like I mentioned, which our cognitive engine does, and we place it in a shared folder. And this shared folder is the customer shared folder. So the important thing to note is that at no stage in our process do we ask you to share any of your data with us. So all the data will remain in your shared folder, and whatever processing our platform does, we'll do it on the customer's shared folder. And our bot will also read from your shared folder and data entry into your ERP. So there is no stage at which we take the data onto our premises or our cloud at any stage. We use the shared folder from your cloud or your on-prem location, which you have pointed to us. So the last part, of course, is processing, which is where the RPA comes in, which reads the CSV file and does the data entry into the system. I'll take you through a small process demo. Yeah. Sumit, could you confirm that you can see the demo?
Yes, Sunil, we can see it. Intelligent invoice extraction and processing.
Sure. Thank you very much, Sumit. So what I'm going to show you is an end-to-end way of entering of an invoice. Typically, this invoice would have come as a paper invoice, as most of our customers do receive paper invoice. So how is a paper invoice going to be digitized and entered into your ERP? That is what we are going to show, and we are going to show you how easy and how seamless it is. Of course, there is an implementation aspect involved, but this is going to be as simple as this. The invoice is going to be in a single touch converted into a digital format, and the processing of that invoice is going to happen using our platform. I will keep stopping this just in the interest of me being able to explain it. But this is how the process starts. The process starts with this is a app that CMSIT has created, which is for you to use this. You use the camera on this app to scan the invoice, and when you scan the invoice, there are advantages of using this app, though we do not insist on it. It's because our app is able to reduce the noise reduction. Now you can see on this invoice, for example, there are some seals and there's some writing, etc. Now many times this seal and writing crisscrosses the data which is there on the invoice itself, and it makes it difficult for any automation platform to read it. So one of the things that we do is we try to remove the noise to the extent possible. Of course, I think to be fair, there is a certain amount of chain management that we all have to do to ensure that quality invoices is what we give to the platform, so that the accuracy improves. So this is we are using a tool which is able to convert these invoices. It also gives you a preview. It tells you what it's reading, and it's not yet processed at this stage. It is just previewing and giving you this amount. And when you give the go ahead, when you say approve, that's when it gets converted into a digital format and gets placed in that shared folder that we spoke about earlier. And it's from that shared folder our platform takes over, and it uploads onto the shared folder. And here is where at this stage I'd like to tell you that this entire process you will not actually see most of the time. But in certain invoices, when the tool has a doubt whether it's done the right reading, etc., it'll ask for intervention. And this is also one of the cases where you as a super user is intervening to train the bot. So once you give this kind of an input, it will never ask you again. But maybe once or twice, or the early stages of implementation, it might ask you for some of the invoices just so that it gets trained completely. But this entire part is not something that you will see for a seamlessly processed invoice. So it goes. The output will be a CSV or a JSON. If JSON is only if you are if you're doing an API. And so I'm showing you the CSV option. The CSV file is here, and it has captured the data from the CSV file. And the data entry is done by the RP bot. This is the bot which is logging in to the ERP. It's opening the CSV file to start with. Going to extract data, extract and read data from the CSV file. So this is the, just would like to say that the CSV file has been what has been extracted by the app, and that's been sitting here as a by our platform, and that CSV file is being used now by a bot to read and do data entry into the ERP system. So the bot is running now, and you can see how fast a bot is actually. Typically, there's a lot of background work going on as we are seeing it. It's logging into the ERP, and yeah, so it's quickly doing the data entry. And typically, I would say a bot does work at least twice as fast as human beings. And added to the fact that I'm sure all of you are aware that bots don't take vacations and they don't take coffee breaks, etc. So it's working 24 hours a day. You can leave a bot to do some critical work in the when you're gone in the evening and expect it to have done it completely by the time come. You can see how quickly the bot is doing the data entry. I have been a ERP guy for a long time in my life. I don't think I've seen this kind of speed in data entry when a human being does it. Right? So there you go. Yeah. So one of the things about this is the bot will not miss any of these aspects that you trained it to do. So a bot doing this data entry vis-a-vis the next data entry, it could never go wrong. And this part of the data entry is 100% success always, because there's no chance of the bot going wrong on this one. The accuracy is only about reading the document, where we maintain some of the best accuracy in the industry. All this is what we have coached the bot to do, to check, make these checks, and it's doing it rapidly, as you can see. And yeah, so the bot is now giving you a message that it has been created. Yeah, and that's the invoice that it's talking about. Now, I just go back to the screen. Sumit, I hope you're able to see my screen again.
Yes, we can.
Yeah, great. So here are some basics about how we achieve this kind of accuracy. We do the image reprocessing, as you've seen in the tool. We are able to do a lot of autograph and background editing, etc., noise reduction, like I told you. We classify the document upfront, so we call it an invoice. And this is true of anything that you choose to automate. Let's say you want to do your KYC, or you want to do your know your employee kind of documents. So we classify the document upfront so that our accuracy levels are the best in the industry, because we classify it and we know what we're looking for. of course, machine learning, and we do provide an admin function which will be able to train, and we will provide a user interface for review, and we do provide an analytical dashboard. Like I think Yash has already spoken about the analytical dashboard. We'll provide an end-to-end analytics dashboard about of what the bot is doing. There are some use cases which I think, in the interest of time, and since we are a little behind time, what I'll do is I'll request Sumit to call out some questions, because I think we are nearly 5 minutes overshot beyond what we agreed, what we thought we should. So thank you for your time, and I'll request all of you to ask questions, and we'll be happy to answer here, or we'll get back to you if we are not able to do justice to that in the given time. Thanks.
Thank you, Sunil, for sharing your thoughtful insights on the subject. Please feel free to ask the questions, and if in case you have any issues in talking, you can please send it in on the message box, and I will take it up with them. So, Tom, can we have?
I have unmuted all of you. All the attendees can unmute yourself and ask question, or alternatively you can use the chat option.
Hi, this is Bikash from Umeed Housing Finance. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, Bikash. Hi, Bikash.
So thanks for the great presentation. A couple of things which I would like to ask. So your automation is based on the invoice, right? So whether it will also help in giving us due date, etc., like based on invoice, if it will pull out the data, right?
So Bikash.
Because let's say in utility bills like electricity or telephones, there will be some due date also, right? So can it throw the pop-up that your due date is coming, so payment should happen before that, right? So that you're saying.
Sure, I'll answer that. Because typically the due date is something that's already fed into your ERP, right?
Right.
So what happens is when you enter an invoice and you take out that invoices due report in your ERP, it'll show you the due date, and you can also set alerts in any ERP about due date. Okay. So what we do is we do the data entry into the ERP. And the due date gets populated automatically. So that to answer your question, the bot only facilitates the data entry, and the due date is something which anyway will get picked up by your ERP. So if the due date is not, for some reason, is not coming up in your due date report, that is something which has to be handled at the ERP level. And we can of course create automation where we can create a due date report, and we can circulate it within a particular payment team, etc. But I don't think this is something which can be automated. It has to be done at the ERP level. Did I answer your question, Bikash?
Yes. Is it possible for you to also give some color on the commercials part, or commercials are basically depend on organization to organization, or if it is a standard product, then if you can just give us a sense on commercial range at least, or whatever, if it is possible.
So I think I will not be doing justice if I give you a number on the commercial, but I will tell you where we stand out differently as far as commercials is concerned. And I can almost thump the table and tell you that commercially and in terms of ROI, this approach will help you for a lot of reasons. Number one, our commercials are based on the per page that we process, Bikash and everybody else. So what we do is if we process say 5,000 pages per month, we charge you for those 5,000 pages. We do not charge you there is no capital expenditure that you are incurring. So
it's purely OPEX model, right?
It's a completely OPEX model, and your payment starts from the time that you go live. And so there's no hidden cost in this as far as we are concerned. And the second part is that I would agree, I would concede that some of the invoices will be at 85%, 90% accuracy. Still, you'll have one or two people who might be having to intervene till we completely stabilize. Now, what we say is that suppose we are at 85% level accuracy, we present 85% of the bill to you. So on both ways, you are secure. Now the absolute commercials is something which we have to which will be of course case to case, because one is the invoice data entry process is different from organization to organization. And also we'd like to take a look at the ecosystem of your invoices and or any other document that you say to see whether the quality of the invoices are good and whether readable. Sometimes we do get some invoices which are not readable even by a human being. So, it's very difficult for us to comment on the absolute commercials at this stage.
Got it. So thank you for answering my question.
Thank you for asking, Vikas. Thanks. I think it was a very useful question. I think it will benefit a lot of people who had those questions. Yeah, great.
Okay.
Hi, this is Vikas.
Sorry, Vikas, please. I'm sorry.
Yeah. This is Vikas again. I'm from Reckner Infosystems. See,
yes.
we have.
Hi, Vikas.
Yeah, hi. We have a proprietary ERP solution, typically niche for steel tube companies and some other vehicles also. My question is, see, when you process invoice, right?
Yeah.
The line items.
Mm-hmm.
The line items mentioned in the invoice will normally vary when you enter it yourself. For example, sometimes the name of the product itself would be different, written on the invoice. Sometimes when it is a service line item, I mean some professional charge or something. And the same when you enter manually, you have different line item to process. So and there are business rules also which are to be applied.
Yes.
How do you address that?
Yeah. So see, there are three aspects to our solution, right? One is, of course, the app, the scanning of the app. The second part is extracting the invoice in a context, and the third one is doing the data entry. Now, typically, what happens in an ERP is that when you extract that particular line and you call that particular invoice, you will get a list of GRNs for that particular invoice which have been entered, right? And so when you call, so what the bot does, it quickly matches GRN to GRN, whether what's said in the invoice is what has been delivered. Actually delivered using the GRN, and it does that match and does the data entry as far as so it maps the item code, it maps the number of quantity delivered, and it maps the thing. I think those business rules have to be decided at the stage of implementation, but that's how we map it. The second question which you asked about services invoices is a little more tricky. I agree with you. So we have to find a way to convert what is there in the services invoice as an item code in your ERP. So we have done it in a few places successfully. So it's more a question about how you're able to map the business rules and tell the bot how to read the invoice and convert that into a services item code or a services free text code, whatever your organization is following.
Yeah. And now,
did I answer your question, Vikas?
To great extent, right? Though I understand it is difficult to answer it completely. Okay, unless we have a one-to-one discussion further.
So we typically have a 8 to 10 week implementation process once we sign up with any customer, and that 8 to 10 weeks is when we sort out these issues. Because typically our tool will be able to read invoices from day one, but these are the things that need to be mapped. What is the data entry process? Because the bot follows a process which is organization specific, and that's the big challenge for us to learn that and then still offer it as a service. Yeah.
I have two questions. Quickly, I'll ask.
Sure.
The demo you have given is for the header, but we could see how the header is being read.
No. Even line item is line is there. Body, but it also extracts the line. Yes, it also extracts the line, not just the header. It takes the header and then it takes the.
My question on that is, I assume that will also be read. My question is, because I could not see that, my question is, there are 5 line items, okay?
Yes.
Then approval will be 5 times, or it will be a single time approval? I mean, it will show all the 5
No, I see. Actually, if it's 5 line items of the same invoice, it will be one invoice entered with 5 line items. And whatever the process that you follow in your for the approval of invoice will continue to be followed even after automation. So there is no separate approval that comes into picture because of automation. See, we are only doing what your employee is already doing using a bot.
Actually, possibly there is a confusion. See, what you are saying is your system is reading the image, okay, and showing it for somebody to intervene and accept it. Right. So header, we saw that.
No. Intervention is only if the bot is having some doubt on the particular data point. Okay, so if it's passed through the bot after 3 or 4 iterations of a particular class of invoice, what will happen is that you won't see those screens. It will go right through. So there's no need of any approval. That's not an approval. It's just a coaching of the bot that is happening, which you saw.
Yeah. So you mean to say in certain after some time, the moment you scan an image, you put that image into the shared folder, it will automatically it will simply give you a message after a few seconds that this is the document number entered into the year.
It will not even give me a message. The bot is programmed in such a way that as soon as a new CSV file comes onto the shared folder, it will start reading it and doing the data entry. At the end of the data entry, it will give you a message.
Okay. Now, second question: the action bot is going to take will vary from case to case. That is configured and managed by you people, or
it's managed by us. We are offering the entire thing as a service, from reading the bot, to reading the invoice, to the data entry, to the complete processing of the invoice till the data entry is completed, is what we do, and we offer the entire thing as a service.
Okay, I mean, we'll not have the option, we'll not have to configure it, right, sir? So basically,
no, you don't have to configure it. You don't have to configure. We'll do it for you, and we will buy the bot for you. So the way we work is we use CMS IT's bots. All you have to give us is a permission to use your shared folder and permission to enter your ERP. As in, we need a user ID password for your ERP for our bots. We're not going to ask you to buy a bot or anything.
Got it. That means for one is an invoice. There may be some other document. One may be GRN, one may be an invoice, maybe some other document you want to use. Right now, each item you will configure separately because it may have a different API calling.
Sorry, I lost that bit. What will I be able to configure?
See, suppose there are two kind of formats in the system. One is for maybe one for the service invoice it is different, and for supply invoice slightly different, right? Configure your bot for both the two kind of documents, right, sir?
Yes, as many documents. We will not. We don't have a restriction on that. Typically there will be multiple types of invoices: service invoice, domestic invoices, international invoices, etc. So we do not restrict that.
Got it, sir. Just to wrap it up, now seems to be some initial efforts, not some effort, but lot of effort from your side also, right?
Yes.
But that means there has to be either some initial cost, some fixed cost, or there may be a minimum purchase, right, which will justify your efforts also. I mean, there will has to be some minimum amount of services to be bought so that you take up that assignment. Am I correct, sir?
No. That's a very good question. That's the best part of our solution. We do not ask you to make a fixed cost or an upfront purchase of anything. we want a commitment, obviously, saying that we will be signed up for a year or 2 years once we are successfully on live, go live. We take up the effort of implementation as a part of our SaaS service.
Okay, sir.
We do not ask you to invest anything upfront.
Yeah, I am asking you questions, sir. I think my questions are relevant and it would help other listeners also.
I think so. I think it's a very good question, and I'm glad you asked me that question, because when I said no capex, I meant no capex in bold letters, saying that there is absolutely no capex. Okay, so you just thank you for asking that, Vikas.
Yeah. Great, thank you so much. I would request somebody to get in touch with us.
Sure. And Vikas, did you mention the name of your organization again?
Yeah, from Rexner Infosystems.
Rexner Infosystems. Okay. Thank you, Vikas. And I think Sumit and you're from Delhi, is it? You're from not NCR, or which location are you from?
We are in NSP, Netaji's Workplace, Delhi, North Delhi.
Delhi, right?
Okay,
so
great.
because I will get in touch with you. This is Sumit.
Yeah.
Sure.
Thank you, Vikas.
Okay.
Any other questions? Anything that's come on chat?
Yes,
Sure.
yes,
Yeah, sure.
yes,
Yeah.
Sunil.
Yeah, so with your permission, Sumit, I will. We have already exceeded the time by around 5 to 6 minutes, but we still have 35 people with us. So I will still, with your permission, take another 5 minutes or 10 minutes.
Sure, definitely. I mean, by all means. So, Mr. Vijay Dubey has asked whether your platform is GST integrated and does GST validation.
See, the GST validation is something that is set up is a process that you do on your ERP, right? You validate the taxation in your ERP. I'm assuming that's what he's asking. So yes, so whatever they do, I'm sure they're doing it today. So all we have to do is implement that process, and absolutely yes, we do the validation. But as far as the entry into the GST site, etc., is concerned, I think while we are capable of doing that, that will be a separate process. It's not a part of the invoice automation.
I hope, Mr. Vijay, that has answered your question. If not, please feel free to write back, or you can unmute yourself and talk. We have another question by Mr. Rajesh Sohar. He says, how does your bot manage different format of invoice?
Yeah, so that's absolutely that's very core to our solution. Again, it's a good question because it brings out our what we have been talking about all afternoon in terms of our capability. We have a very strong cognitive tool which is able to read invoices with a high level of accuracy, not just invoices, any document. So one of the things that we do is we teach this particular tool to read our invoices with, and we teach them that it is an invoice and then what to look for in an invoice. And so far we are able to do that with a very high level of accuracy, upwards of 85% on go live. And hopefully we'll even get better as time goes by. And that's one of the best in the industry. Yes, okay. I think I hope I answered the question.
So no, additionally, Mr. Rajesh is saying that in what he meant was the invoice number formats, date formats, language, that is for international invoices, all of them could be unique to each supplier. So how does the bot manage these kind of differences?
Yeah, so those things are typically set up at the ERP level. When you try to enter the data into your ERP itself, the ERP is configured such that it defaults the date format and the currency of that particular supplier. So typically there is we are doing just the same thing for both cases, but but the ERP takes over and does what it does best. That is, it's already configured with the defaults for that particular supplier. In case there is an outlier where we have to make certain changes based on certain parameters, that we can train our bot to do during the implementation, but that will be very rare.
Mr. Rajesh, hope this has answered your question. If you have any more clarifications or any query, please feel free to unmute yourself.
Rakesh, I've unmuted myself. Thank you so much.
Yeah, please. Thank you.
So thank you very much for explaining my queries and answering my queries. My point, I was coming from a perspective wherein there could be multiple suppliers, be it international or within the country. And each one of them have a different format. Some of them, being international, have a different language. Maybe a German supplier. Now they might write commercial invoice in their language, right? So for our system to, sorry.
Yeah. No, this language thing, may I know your name, sir? I mean, I'm sorry, I didn't.
Rajesh. My name is Rajesh.
Yes, I can hear you now. Yes.
Yeah. So what I'm trying to
Rajesh, so you asked these last two questions, right? Okay.
Yes, I did. So I sort of unmuted maybe because it will, typing would take more time and your time also. So, the query is because I am engaging with a customer of mine who has multiple vendors. They're like a logistics company. So they encounter voices from different countries, different legalities, and even languages. So and plus date formats. For example, US date format is different from Indian date format, right? And if the date could be on the top right or it could be at the bottom left. There are so many things which happen in invoices. Now, every time each invoice comes in, it may or may not be unique, but there are high chances that you will find each and every invoice to be in a different format. So, how does your bot really take care of that? You understand where I'm coming from, right?
I got a question. So you said a few parameters, Rajesh. So one is you talked about the currency, you talked about date format, you talked about time, and then you talked about language. That means I'm assuming when you say language, you're talking about the language that is there on the invoice. The document itself is in a different language, Chinese. Now, in the last case, I think we'll have to discuss that in a little more detail because that involves the implementation of a translator and stuff like that. That is not something that I think I can answer upfront. We'll have to see and do it on a case-to-case basis. But the other parts, that is the date format, the currency, etc., those are all going to default in your ERP based on the supplier, right? So that we will be able to handle. And if there are any supplier-specific processes that you have to do, we'll have to train the bot to do that at the time of implementation. That is also possible, provided there are not too many. Like every invoice is an outlier, it becomes difficult for us to make sense out of it. But if there are certain outliers which you want to define at the beginning of the implementation, we'll be happy to do it for you. We can discuss that.
Understand. Yeah. All right. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you, Rajesh, for your question. Thanks. Yeah. Sumit?
No, I don't have any more questions at this point in time, Sunil.
Sure. I think we should thank this very good audience who asked a lot of very valuable questions.
Absolutely.
And it was a privilege to present to all of you. Thank you very much. And please do write to us or get in touch with us. We'll be happy to engage with you on a one-on-one basis as well. Thank you. Sumit, over to you.
Thank you so much, Sunil. Thank you so much, Yash, and the organizers to help us, organize this. And with this, we come to an end of today's session. First of all, those who have reached out to us and we have not been able to answer your questions for whatever reasons, or maybe due to paucity of time or, network issues. With this, we come to an end of today's session. For all those who have reached out to us, thank you so much, and a big thank you to people who have all attended our, session so interestingly. And we will circle back with you, all of you, in a few days, either through an email or a call from one of our team members. A big thank you to our speakers for the day, Yash and Sunil, and most definitely to the audiences and who took time out to join our session today. Also, a big shout out to the marketing team of Automation Anywhere and CMS IT Services who made today's session possible and helped us in putting together the interesting webinar. On that note, I hope all of you present in the session today found value in the interaction for which we had gathered and found the session interesting. I pray and hope all of you and your families stay safe in these difficult times. Once again, thank you everybody for being a part of this session. We at CMS IT Services and Automation Anywhere hope to become a part of your automation journey soon as your trusted partner. Thank you and stay safe. God bless.